Hey, it's Hayden. It is 11:45 p.m. on Friday, June 26, 2015. So anyone who's been watching my previous videos, I was talking about how I was going to come out to my mom. I did that yesterday. She actually knew ahead of time because my brother accidentally told her, because he didn't know that when I told him I came out to my stepmom and my dad, that I didn't come out to my mom as well, which was alright. You know, some people would be mad that he took that from me or whatever, but it actually took away a lot of nerves, because I started awkwardly. I was like, hey, Mom, I need to show you something, I need to tell you something, and she was like, I already know. I know that you want to be a boy. And so, you know, I still showed her the video, she still watched it. She cried at the end because I got all, like, sentimental at the end. Was like, you know, I'll still love you, and she hugged me and everything. She said that, you know, she gave birth to me, but what I do with my life from there is my choice, which I think is cool, you know? She acknowledges that she did give birth to me, but she has no control over who I am, per se, and so I enjoy that. She was like, she told me she was 100% behind me, very supportive, very accepting, and then she cut my hair. Like, I mean, I know I got a haircut not too long ago, but, you know, it's shorter now. This can't be spiked up because it's so short, but the bangs I can flip up. It's easier to handle, and it's very masculine, and I really enjoy it. But, so she did that right after I came out to her, and then I went to my sister's house, and I hung out with her, and that was really cool. Today, I talked to my dad and stepmom about seeing the gender therapist, and they said that I could do that. So I emailed the gender therapist, and so hopefully he'll get back to me, whether it means we're talking to each other through Skype or if it's in person, whichever's cool. I'd really like to start going and having sessions with him. I asked about insurance and all of that to get that out of the way, so I can start filling out that paperwork and everything like that. And, you know, a lot of people, I think, would think, oh, Hayden, how are you so lucky lately? I know my last video was like, boom, 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 here's all these exciting things that are happening, but, you know, I don't have all the luck in the world. There are still little things, and today was a tough day. Yes, my parents said that I could start seeing the gender therapist that my other therapist recommended me to go see, but, you know, my stepmom asked what they could do to be more inclusive, to be more involved, whatever, and I just said what I had been thinking. I said, you know, you can start taking me seriously. You can stop thinking that I'm just catching symptoms from other videos, that I'm just using other people's stories as my own instead of finding my own. And that kind of got into a very explosive fight between me and her. My dad was mainly sitting there awkwardly, adding a few points here and there. Mainly my voice was raised. I wasn't really yelling. My voice was raised because I was very upset because she wasn't listening to me. I was like, you know, you're contradicting yourself, and what you're saying makes me feel like you're invalidating my story and you don't believe me. And she was like, no, 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 I believe you. I'm not invalidating your story. I just think that you watching all these videos on YouTube and doing all this research, you are taking their stories and making them your own. And I tried to give examples like, you know, a lot of people know when they're kids. And I give the example of how when I was like 12 or so, I had, for so long, when I gave into the idea that there might be a God out there, I prayed to him. I was like, hey, you know, I would say things like, simple things like, if I do my chores really well tomorrow without complaining, could you make me a boy for one day? Just so I can know what it feels like, and then I'll live like the girl that you've made me, that you had me born as. Of course, that never happened, but you know, that was something I prayed for every night, and I never told anyone that because what was the point? You know, I was a girl who wanted to be a boy, and I didn't know what transgender was. I didn't know that I could transition into the boy that I always felt that I was, that I always wanted to be. So I never expressed that to my parents, and just telling her that, I don't think she believed me. I think she thought that I made that up because all of the other stories had stuff with being a kid and knowing and that kind of thing. And I didn't always know. I didn't know what transgender was until a few years ago, and you know, I came out to them recently because I felt, hey, this is something I want. Not suddenly I heard about it and I'm gonna come out to them. It took a while. It took a while for me to get the courage to come out to them and feel like that was the right thing to do, that this was the next step I needed to take. It wasn't just immediate, like, heard about it, now I gotta come out. And I don't think she realizes that. And that was just, it was a very explosive fight. It ended up her crying, saying that I don't appreciate them and all that they did. She brought up how she took me to different colleges, which she didn't do for my other siblings, because she saw that my other siblings, when they went to a local college, it stunted their growth, and they didn't end up graduating on time, and all of that. So she saw more of me than I saw myself before, and so she took me to go see other colleges, and I'm going to one of those colleges now. Actually wearing one of the shirts under this. But, you know, and I'm like, I appreciate that. I've told her that many times. And every time I eat a meal with them, I say thank you. I'm like, hey, this meal was good, thanks. I really enjoyed it. I don't have to say that. A lot of people don't say that, but I do. And now working, I don't get to eat dinner with them a lot, so my dad will tell me what's in the fridge, leftovers from what they had, and I will tell them thank you. After I eat it, I say thank you, that was really good, thanks for saving me some. I don't have to, but I do. And, you know, it's like, I do these little things. It's not like I'm going to sit there and be like, thank you for being my parents, thank you for loving me, thank you for this, and this, every time they do something. Like, I don't see how they don't see that I do appreciate them. And, you know, just, I don't know, this happens a lot with the arguments. She ended up crying, saying all of that, and then said fuck you to me, which she's never said before. And I was like, okay, this is cool, thank you. And then she ended up cleaning up dinner in like some rage and walked out, and my dad was left to awkwardly try and pick up the pieces and back her up. And mainly it just ended up being him telling me, you know, contact the gender therapist, get a session started, and keep them updated. I was like, okay, yep. Though at one point in the conversation, he was like, you know, your mind's still maturing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, my mind's still maturing. Yeah, I'm 20 years old. Scientifically, your mind matures until you're 25 or whatever. But that's not, I'm not going to mature in 5 years and be like, oh, no, I'm good with being a girl now. That's not what's maturing. I don't see how me coming out to them as transgender isn't mature. Like, he just sees it as a phase, and they're just, they say they're supportive, but they're not very understanding, and they're not willing to hear my story because I think it's not my story, just because some of it is like other people. Some of it is like other transgender people, because it's always going to overlap in certain things. And my stepmom said something about how, you know, I tried to explain that before I had gotten my first haircut, I got the long side, made me feel dysphoric, and she was like, well, you know, you didn't talk about that before you heard what dysphoria was, and before you saw videos of other people who were like, yeah, long hair makes me feel dysphoric. It just made me feel like she thought that I was an idiot. That she thought that I was so influenced by everything that I always see, that I was so stupid to always be like, oh, yep, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, with everything I see, that nothing I say is valid. That I'm not transgender enough to her. That's basically what she said. If she were to watch this video, she would get angry again, saying, oh no, you twisted my words, blah blah blah. I could have recorded the argument, you know, maybe I missed some of the good things that she said, but still, you know, I acknowledge all of what my parents do for me. I acknowledge that I'm lucky that they put a roof over my head, they feed me, I have a car to drive to work with, and all of that they pay for some of my education, and that they're willing to let me go see a gender therapist. But, you know, willing to be more understanding, willing to actually listen to my story and not say that's someone else's story. That's important. I just want to be heard. And so, I don't know, I guess I might write a letter to them or something, explaining something, but I don't know if that'll make them angry, because I know I'm going to be upset when I write it, because I'm going to be upset with the fact that they're not listening. They're saying they're listening, but they're not listening. And, you know, after the argument, I was originally going to hang out with friends, but they canceled, and so I ended up driving to my church because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to be in the house. I didn't want to be stuck in my room while I knew that my parents were downstairs talking about me. I just didn't want to be here. So I told my dad, I was like, hey, you know, my friends canceled on me. I'm driving to the church. I need to clear my head. And I did. I talked to a bunch of people about it. I talked to my siblings about it, my youth group leader, and they were all understanding. And, like, of course, my siblings were like, yeah, you know, that's typical them, all of that. So it's not just me, like, my parents don't understand. It's not that typical thing. It's my 26-year-old sister, my 23, 24-year-old brother, whatever, they were like, yeah, that's just them. But, you know, cleared my head. I thought, I spent my whole life battling my parents, you know, and the fact that they don't believe me shouldn't stop me. I'm 20 years old. I'm an adult, 20 years old, junior in college. I've matured more in the past few years than I have at all. Like, I'm learning more things every day. And just, I realize, you know, 20 years old, junior in college, I don't need to be battling them. Yes, they have a big influence on my life, but they can't control how I live my life, who I am. And I'm done fighting them. I'm done trying to convince them that I'm transgender enough. I'm done trying to convince them of who I am. And if they don't believe me, they don't believe me. I will continue to update them, say, hey, this is what I talked about with the gender therapist. I will bring them into the gender therapist sessions when I feel comfortable with that. I'll send them videos. I sent them a playlist tonight. I don't know if they'll watch it, whatever, it's their choice. But I'm done fighting them. I'm ready to be myself. I'm ready to be who I am. I'm done having them as an obstacle. I am going to come out to everyone in July, which is, like, I don't know, it starts 4 days from now or something like that. 4 or 5 days from now. It might not be the first week of July, it might be the second, it might be the third, but I want to come out in July. I want to go back to college as Hayden Reed. Hayden Reed, full fur, total. I want to go back as the guy I've always been. And I don't want to have to hide myself. I don't want to have to go and observe classrooms and have them call me Mrs. I want to be called Mr. And I'm done fighting the people who aren't supposed to be my enemy, but who are trying to, yes, in the end, protect me. They're worried. They're trying to protect me, but I'm done fighting them. I'm old enough to make my own decisions. I'm old enough to live my own life and be who I am, and that's always what they've tried to teach me. Be who you are. And, you know, I know they're afraid that I'm rushing it, but it took me 2 years to figure it all out, and 2 years to come out to them. And I don't want to wait until I'm 25 and my brain is matured to become who I am. Because I already know. At the end of every night, I know I want to be a guy. I want to let myself free. And each and every day, it becomes harder and harder not to come out to everyone. Not to ask people to call me the name I prefer. Not to ask people to call me by he, him, his pronouns. It becomes harder and harder. And, you know, I'm trying to, like, it's easy to not have to worry about what I'm wearing because I'm at work all the time. I have to wear the same polo and the same pants, whatever. It's gender neutral, which is cool. But, you know, I don't want to go to college and have a bunch of girls' clothes and have to be who I thought I was and not who I am. So I'm coming out in July, and if they tell my grandparents and they try and explain it to them before I come out, then they do that. If they don't, that was their choice. I can't make them do anything, and they can't make me do anything. And I'm realizing that Hayden Reed, I am an adult. I can make my own decisions. I can become myself. And maybe they'll get mad that I didn't respect their opinion, that I rushed it, whatever. But I'm done living a lie. I'm done fighting a battle against my parents who are supportive but overprotective. And I guess I know reasonably so, because there's a high suicide rate. There's a high rate where a bunch of transgender people could get abused or murdered or whatever. There's good reason why my stepmom's afraid that in a few years of me using the male bathroom, whatever. But I'm done with it. I'm done battling them, and I'm ready to battle what's ahead of me. I'm ready to fight my own fight. You know? And so in a few weeks here, everyone will know. I'm done being someone I'm not. And I'm ready to release myself as Hayden.